أنت بدر أنت نور فوق نوري أنت إكثير وغالي أنت مصباح الصدور أنت إكثير وغالي أنت مصباح الصدور يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيبي سلام عليك يا حبيبي يا محمد صلوا عليه يا حبيبي يا محمد صلوا عليه يا حبيبي يا محمد يا عروس الخافقين يا حبيبي يا محمد يا عروس الخافقين يا مؤيد يا ممجد يا إمام القبلتين يا مؤيد يا ممجد يا إمام القبلتين يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا نبي سلام عليك يا رسول سلام عليك يا حبيبي 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 سلام عليك.
Good morning, dear brothers and sisters. We are about to begin our program, so kindly ensure that your mic is muted and also to stay with us on Zoom until the end of this today's session. Thank you very much for your kind cooperation. We will start shortly. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning. I bid to Prof. Dr. Ida Madiha Abdul Ghani Azmi, Dean Center for Postgraduate Studies, Professor Dr. Usman Bakar, our honorable speaker in the morning session, Associate Professor Dr. Faiza Idris, she's another speaker, will be from our morning session. All lecturers, CPS staffs, PGSS member from Gombak and Kuantan campus, organizing committees, and all postgraduate students. Dear brothers and sisters, we are gathering virtually here for today's third day of Taruf event for the new postgraduate students in intake semester 2, 2021-22. To gain the blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let us commence this session by reciting Ummul Kitab Suratul Al-Fatiha. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Garden of Knowledge and Virtue International Islamic University, Malaysia this morning. I wish to congratulate each of you, first on having secured your university place, and second for having the good sense to choose to study in the IIUM. The International Islamic University Malaysia puts the student at the center of everything it does. Your experience here at IIUM and your success is important to each and every member of staff who works here in this university. Your admission at this university marks a new chapter in the story of your life. But this chapter is a bit different. The preceding chapters were largely written by others, such as your parents, your guardians, families, teachers, and friends, and so on. Now you will be the principal author of the next chapter. You have the opportunity to determine the direction, the plot, and the tempo of your story. This can seem as daunting as it is exciting, as challenging as it is empowering. But the great thing is that you are doing something that you have chosen to do, not something that was chosen for you by others. And while you are here at IIUM, you will have the opportunity to learn new things, acquire new knowledge, develop new skills, and enhance your personal attributes in profound ways that will equip for life after university. At the same time, you will be able to make new friends who will become your friends for life, with whom you will share memories of your International Islamic University Malaysia days for many years to come. So once again, congratulations and warmly welcome all of you to this Garden of Knowledge and Virtue. This is MD Alamgir Hussain, one of the representatives of Postgraduate Student Society of International Islamic University of Malaysia, and I am a postgraduate student of Kuliah of Islamic Banking and Finance. So I'm delighted to be your master of ceremony for today's event. Now it's time to play the IIUM song, Leading the Way. I would like to request PGSS advisor, our respected sister Faria, to play the IIUM song.
Let's lead the way, lighten the future, share the wisdom to the spirit of Islam. Revelation and risen. We shall excel, we shall prevail. Merging faith and knowledge, we, the Khalifa, we will fulfill the Amana. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Ikra. IUN is to realize the meaning of Ramadan al-Amin. Together we make the world a better place. Forever expand the culture of Ikra. IUN is to realize the meaning of mercy to all worlds for
Thank you very much, our honorable advisor, Sister Faria, for this playing this. Before jumping into the main session, I would like to ask all of you from where you joined this session. I mean, from which country? I believe IIUM is international university. We have students from almost 100 countries, is more than even. So in this semester, I would like to just know from which country you are joining. You can unmute yourself, or you can just write down through the chat box. Maybe I will read out it. Can you please interrupt?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I am Arafat Karim from Sri Lanka.
Arafat Karim from Sri Lanka. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, I am well. Alhamdulillah, I am going to pursue my PhD degree, inshallah, in fiqh.
MashaAllah. In Kulia of IRKH, HS, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. What time is it now in Sri Lanka?
No, I came here before
Oh,
for 2 weeks, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Which mahalla are you staying?
I am staying at Mahalla Farooq.
Mahalla Farooq. Which level?
Level 1 PG.
I am staying level 3 actually. Maybe we are neighbor.
You are doing here?
Yeah. I am also here. I am also doing PhD in Kulia of Islamic Banking and Finance.
MashaAllah.
And you said you were in level 1, and I am in level 3.
Yeah, we will see, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah, we will see, brother. And welcome to this university, brother. You said you came 2 weeks earlier, isn't it?
Oh, before 2 weeks, yeah.
Before 2 weeks. How do you feel actually?
Alhamdulillah,
about that?
well, already I completed my master degree here.
Oh, mashallah. That's great.
Therefore, that is not new for me. Alhamdulillah, I have experience for that. Inshallah, I have good intention to do my PhD in a good way, inshallah.
That's great. Do you have any suggestion for or anything for our new fellows students? Those who want to come, still they are not traveling. I believe there are so many.
I don't have any suggestion, but I need to interact our students, fellow students, to discuss some academic items. That is my suggestion.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, and hope to see you, inshallah.
Inshallah. Shukran.
Okay. Is there anyone from Pakistan? Is there anyone from Bangladesh? Is there anyone from Indonesia? Even from Malaysia? Or any parts of the world? You can just, let's introduce.
Hi, Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
My name is Nur Akma. I'm from Malaysia, particularly in Rawang, Kuala Lumpur, Selangor.
MashaAllah. Rawang is a beautiful place.
Thank you. I'm taking a master educational psychology.
Okay, Kulia of Education?
Kuliah of Education, yes. Previously, my bachelor degree was also in UIA. I was graduated in 2007,
MashaAllah, that's great.
and again come back to IIU for my master program.
MashaAllah. So why did you choose IIUM again? Is because you already completed your graduation. So, I mean, why you come here? What's the motivation behind this?
I think because I used to be in that place,
Okay.
and I think it become a good place for me, I think.
Okay, it's a good place for you, we say. But let's say I am a new student, not new student. I want to pursue my higher studies. So why I want to pursue my higher studies? Now let me know why I will choose IIUM instead of other universities.
If you are not Malaysian, that is the best place for multiculturals lah. You can find I think if you are not Malaysian, you can also find other people from other country as well, and that place are welcoming. I think that place is welcoming most people lah.
Okay, thank you very much, sister, for your sharings.
Welcome.
So you were still in the Mohalla or in Rawang?
No, I'm staying. I'm staying at home.
Okay. What's your plan? Are you, I mean, move from your house, I mean, home to here, or no? You will continue from.
If I got class, then I'll go to IIU. I'm not staying in Mahala because I'm taking part-time program.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you very much, sister. Wish you best of luck.
Welcome.
Okay, is there any other brother and sisters you want to share? At least from where you join with us. Let's make this session as interactive one, because it's a virtual one. We're supposed to be physical, but unfortunately, and due to so many things, and now the cases of Omicron in Malaysia is like rising day by day. So we had no other option but continue this Taruf session on physically. So please, anyone wants to share something or just say hi to us? We all are your brothers and sisters. Just, it will be good. Just unmute yourself and say hi.
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 Hi, what's your name?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Where are you from, sister?
My name is Nurul Akma. I'm from Malaysia. I'm from Seremban. Just now is my twin sister.
Oh, that's great. You also?
Yes.
So why did you choose Malaysia? I mean, IIUM. The same reason?
Same thing.
So, okay, just if I ask you, the only thing you want to share, just for why you choose Malaysia, I mean, this IIUM, the only reason.
It's a very beautiful place for me to seek for knowledge. It's a very lovely place. I just love it.
So will you recommend other, just if someone wants to pursue their higher studies?
Definitely.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, sister.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much for the interaction. So we are almost, I mean, it's a huge number. I think because it's a morning, So I believe everyone already had your breakfast. So now it's time to move to our main agenda. Without a further ado, let's continue with the main agenda. We have two topics for this morning session. The first one is writing a proposal using appropriate language by Associate Professor Dr. Faiza Idrus. Dr. Faiza Idrus is already here. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, brother.
Okay. Okay, before inviting, I would like to share a short bio of our distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Faiza Idrus. Dr. Faiza Idrus is an Associate Professor of Kuliah of Education, IIUM Gombak campus. Dr. Faiza Idrus worked as an English teacher for 5 years before joining the Center for Language, the International Islamic University, IIUM, as a lecturer in 1998. She joined the Kuliah of Education upon completion of her PhD. She teaches the undergraduate and postgraduate courses in the Department of Language and Literature, Kuliah of Education for TESOL program. She also supervised master's and PhD students. She is always been an inspiring and motivational person for the students, and she always focused on, to complete your study on time. So one more announcement for our dear participants. I know that this session may bring up a number of questions from your point of view, and I want to let you know that we will have a Q&A session immediately after our speaker sharing session. So be prepared for that, and if you have anything in between the session, just don't hesitate. Don't feel hesitate, just write down on the chat box, or if you want, maybe after the sharing session, you can just unmute yourself and directly talk with our honorable speaker. Now it's my utmost pleasure to invite our honorable distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Faiza Idrus, for conducting this session. Without a further ado, I would like to take the floor to Dr. Faiza Idrus. Please, Doctor, you can just continue your session until 10:30. Actually, your session will be until 11. So maybe we will have a Q&A session from maybe 10:30 or 10:40. It's depend on you when you will finish. So thank you very much, Doctor.
All right, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, brother moderator, for the very kind words. Okay, so I am given this topic to talk and discuss and probably hear some views. There are two topics, actually. One is writing your research proposal, which I think will interest all of you, because whether you are postgraduate or whether you are master students or PhD students, you will somehow have to write a research proposal. And if we have time, I'm going to go through a little bit on language in academic writing. Let me just caution you that discussing research proposal will take a long time, okay? And if you go for your classes, getting to start your research proposal and to discuss about it will take about like 3 or 4 weeks, all right? But I am going to try and condense all that into this very restricted time that I have. And perhaps if I have a little bit more time, I will quickly screen through the language that you need in writing your proposal. Okay, so let me just share my screen. And I see that that there are not that many students, not that many new students now, but it's okay. We can straight away go into our topic of discussion today, that is writing your research proposal. Right, since this is a not face-to-face, I normally will ask how many will be doing masters and how many will be embarking on their PhD, but it's okay. Right, so this is a general research proposal. So it is actually not meant for example, this is meant for sciences only, or this meant for social sciences. This is general, yeah? Just to caution you that this is a general research proposal writing. All right, so I'm sure when you did apply to go into postgraduate studies, you are asked to write a little bit of a kind of concept paper, right? So why you have to write that concept paper is because for maybe perhaps it's because the CPS would like to know the area that you want, that you are interested in, and perhaps the Kuliah can assign you to a specific supervisor that is in that area of your study, and the person who knows best about your area. All right, so that is the concept paper. So concept paper is totally different from a proposal, right? So before we go on to the nitty-gritty of a research proposal, let's look at what research entails, what it refers to. Okay, whatever it is, you have decided, yeah, you have decided that you want to embark on a postgraduate study. And I know it is not easy, but maybe for some, you make your decision just like that. I want to go into master's and PhD. But of course, when you want to do your PhD, especially, there are a lot of things that you have taken into consideration. And now that you are here, you have decided, okay, this graduate study is for me now. This is the right time. So in order for you to not be disappointed later on, yeah, so you have to have the right guide. You have to have the right guide. You have to find or you have to strategize. That is the most important. So how do I strategize? So that one will perhaps you can have discussion on strategizing in postgraduate studies. But today we are going to concentrate on how to write research proposal. Okay, so mind you, what we have today may not be similar to what your Kuliah wants, but this is the basis. Okay, this is the foundation. So research means a scientific and systematic search for pertinent information on a specific topic. So it is scientific, whether it's social sciences or hard sciences, you are doing it systematically and scientifically, all right? In fact, research is an art of scientific investigation, all right? And when it says scientific, no more cut and paste. There's no way cut and paste will have to be thrown away. If you have, you are probably none of you are were doing this. But if you remember during your undergraduate studies that you have cut and paste several things, now is the time to throw all that away. Okay. So because we are going to, this is our effort. These are the things that will actually groom for you to be who you are as a researcher next time, or what you have intended to be. You embark on a postgraduate studies because of several reasons, right? And many of you embark on postgraduate studies, masters and PhD, because you have that purpose. I want to be an academic. Okay, I want to be an academic. I want to be a lecturer later on, and I want to learn how to do that. So this is exactly the place, and this is the starting point. Okay, so the purpose of research is to discover or uncover answers to questions through the application of scientific procedure. Okay, so I'm not going to bore you with the type of research study. If we have time, we can go back to what is several types of research study. Okay, you have descriptive, analytical, applied, and basic. And most of you are doing empirical research. So what do we mean by empirical research? Is when you collect data on the field. All right, you are not doing library research. You are not only using journals and books and materials from the library. So that is library research. But most of you, or almost all, are going to do empirical research. in which you have to go out there and collect actual data. All right. So all this must be captured in your proposal. Okay, so before I go further, can I ask anyone if my explanation clear to you? Is my communication clear to you? That is very important before we carry on. Can I hear any comments that you can hear me clearly, that my communication is clear?
Loud and clear. Loud and
Loud
clear.
and clear. Yeah, I am quite loud because I'm a teacher. So
Yes.
yeah, loud and clear. Thank you very much. So let's go on to research proposal. So any research study should have a proper proposal in written form. Okay, so there will be different types of modes, right? Whether you are masters or PhD. So those who are taking the coursework, okay, you have coursework, so you have to do your coursework, and finally write directed research. Okay, directed research. That's true. But of course, directed research is not a full-blown research, right? But it's still a mini research. And for those of you who have decided to do full research, then welcome aboard on the realm of research. Okay, so those of you who are going to do full research, you have to defend, right? You have to defend your proposal. So that's why you have to have a comprehensive proposal in order for you to defend your proposal in front of the proposal defense committee. And every kuliah will have different types of proposal defense committee. So we are not talking about that right now. You can have more information when you are at your kuliah later on. So research proposal is like a blueprint of a building. If someone wants to construct a building, so there must be like first they have to have the feasibility study, and then they have to have a structure. So you as a research student will have to have this as well. You are building a research, thereby you have to have a plan. You have to have your proposal. Okay. So the foundation of a research proposal is clear communication. When we say clear communication, what does that entail? It means that you have to have all the items that should be in a research proposal. And what are those items? Don't worry, we are going to go through that. So writing a formal research proposal should be started by the time one has decided on the topic for the study. So you have decided to embark on this study. So you have maybe you don't have a clear proposal yet. That is absolutely fine, but you have to have a clear area. Okay, what is the area that you are interested in? If you have the area, what are some of the topics in that area that have been done, right? That have been done. And what would your interest be? Is it the same area? If it is the same topic, you cannot do the same exact one. You have to find a gap. How is your research differ from the ones that you have had or you have read before? So that is the gap. All right. So it can be similar areas, maybe similar topic, but a different angle. You look at different angle. Okay. So it cannot be. I always say this to my students, you can replicate, not duplicate. Okay. Duplicate is plagiarism. Okay, in postgraduate study, plagiarism is the biggest offense in academia. All right, so we want to try and avoid plagiarism at all costs. Okay, all right. So in your proposal, there will be 3 topics. Okay, and yeah, 3 sections. Chapter 1 or 3 chapters. Chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. So those who are doing a directed research will also be doing this. Those who are doing full research will also have 3 topics, but at a greater length, right? All right, chapter 1. So what do we need to have in chapter 1? Of course, before you start your research proposal, you have to have a title, right? So don't worry so much about your title, because title can change over time, especially when you are doing PhD. It is called a working title. Why? Because as you go along, as you have found more articles, more information, and more guidance from your supervisor, you may want to shift a little bit on your topics. That's why you have to have an area that you want to focus on, but the topic will be a working topic. All right. Okay, so chapter 1, you have to have the introduction to your topic. So a lot of students have missed out this one. The introduction is introduction to your topic. So each word of your topic is very important. Okay, we don't have a topic just because we want to have a topic. We want to have, you write that topic because each of the words in the topic is very important. All right, so chapter 1, first of all, you need to introduce the topic. Okay, and then once you have introduced your topic, which means you have all your keywords introduced in the first few paragraphs, then you have your background. So what is the background? It's the background of the main, let's say, main focus. What is the focus? So the background of your focus of research. Okay, so what should this background be about? Okay, so this background is about something that you have found. So this is the place that you are going to explain what your topic, what is the, what have the main thing that have been done in this area, and why you are interested to write about this topic. Where did this idea came from, and what are the things that that triggered your interest? So the background and explanation of that background and that focus. Okay, so it's a little bit different from your the first few paragraphs of introduction and then the background. Okay, now, so once you have, how many pages is this is the normal question that students will ask me. How many, how long, how many pages? Okay, so I cannot tell you exactly how many pages you have to have, but it should be enough giving the whoever that is going to read your proposal understand what you mean, understand what you are trying to say, understand the fundamentals of the your research focus. Okay, right. So, and then, okay, maybe introduction, background will take about a page and a half, or the most 2 pages, not too many, not too long. All right, because your examiner is interested to look at the more important point, which are your purpose, your objective, your problem statement, your research questions. Those are very important in chapter 1. So all this must be communicated in chapter 1, right? So what is your general purpose of your study? So the general purpose is to find out or to explore or to examine something. If it's all these are investigation. All these are investigation. So what you are doing, you are investigate. So the general purpose of your study is to what? Whether you are going to compare, whether you are going to differentiate, whether you are going to do a comparative study, whatever. should be in the general purpose. This general purpose is the big purpose, the main idea of your study. And then once you have got the general purpose, so when we write or when we start, when we embark on the study on the topic that you are doing, there must be a problem. Okay, we are doing this study because there is a problem. If there is no problem, there is no research, there is no study. Okay, so you have to have, or you have to make the statement of problem very clear. So what is statement of problem? Okay, for example, okay, so I'm going to give an example of my area. My area is English language teaching, right? So I am interested in, for example, the why students are not speaking enough English in the classroom, for example, yeah? So I wonder, so that is my problem. Students are not speaking enough, or they have no confidence in speaking English in the classroom. All right, so I know that one has been done a lot all over the world. They have been doing that. So that topic may have been exhausted, meaning there's nothing new there. So unless you are going to bring something new onto the reason why students are not speaking, then you can carry on with that topic. So now I am determined that I want to know why students are not speaking English enough. So my angle, I want to focus on the indigenous. So not many studies have been done on indigenous students, secondary indigenous students in public school, for example. Okay, there are, but not many. So you are going to focus on indigenous people on certain areas. Okay, so why am I saying that? Because I am looking at different angle here, because I know problem anxiety in speaking is written a lot already. So my problem is the anxiety of English speaking in the classroom for the secondary indigenous people in, for example, in Tasik Chini, because we have quite a large number of indigenous students in Tasik Chini. So then I have a clear focus there. And my problem is, the statement of problem perhaps you can replicate, but then you are going to focus a bit more on that indigenous people in that area. Okay, right. So I'm going to stop here. I want to hear from you. Have you understood what it means by problem statement? Okay, anyone would like to try? No? Do you have, if you have a general conception of your topic that you want to do, you can just tell me the problem that you are going to tackle. Anybody?
I can try.
Who is that I can try? Can you
Sidra.
tell me your name?
Sidra.
Who?
Sidra.
Sidra. Okay, Sidra.
Yes.
Please.
So I did my undergraduate in psychology, and so
Okay.
I'm pursuing my master's in Islamic studies. What I
Okay.
want to do as like my research proposal or my thesis in my future life career, I guess you can say, is I want to work in the field of Islamic psychology. So by
Okay.
getting a strong foundation in Islamic studies, I want to be able to, go further. So for my research problem, I wanted to write about trying to further the field of Islamic psychology, but as you said, we have to have a specific problem. And so I wanted to go about trying to not be a Muslim therapist, but rather a therapist that practices Muslim and Islamic values. So really doing therapy and counseling from the viewpoint of the Quran and Sunnah. And so establishing a framework or a structure model that would, reflect that, and it would be easier for people to incorporate Islamic values within counseling and therapy on the day-to-day rather than, you know, Muslims being subjected to Western ideology that doesn't understand the religion and cultural aspects that they are, you know, that's, you know, very heavily impacted
Right.
and influences their life.
Right. So what you have just mentioned just now is your general purpose. This is a very noble study, and I think you should stick to that study. It's very good. Although there are several studies that have been done in that area, okay, Islamic psychology, but that is your general focus. Okay,
yeah,
that is general focus, and perhaps you have mentioned about your purpose. All right, but then you have not mentioned your problem.
Yeah,
the problem may be not many psychologists understood the fundamentals of Islamic psychology. So that problem is a very general problem.
right.
Okay?
Yeah,
That is a general problem, but you can always start with that, right? So
and
it
then
all
find
depends
something
again
specific.
now, because your problem statement will have to be aligned with your research objective and your research questions. As students, I have always forgotten about how you align your problem statement with your RQs and ROs. All right. So now, perhaps Sidra, are you at the beginning of your reading, or you have a very specific focus already, Sidra?
No, not yet.
Yeah,
I'm just getting started.
I thought. Because if you have read more, and of course, once you have discussed with your supervisor, then you will have a focus. You want to focus on the practice. You want to focus on the theories only, or you want to focus on your respondents or your patients, for example. All right. So let's say you want to focus on those people who are practicing, okay, practitioners. So maybe you want to say about how there is a dearth of research in Islamic psychology, especially because Islamic psychology is wide. So you have to focus on one. Maybe you want, let's say, I'm just thinking this as emotional intelligence. Right? Let's say we want to talk about emotional intelligence and psychology, because that's part of psychology. So you want to know what is not understood by practitioners, or you want to say that the most practitioners lack emotional intelligence. Then you have a focus on your problem statement. And of course, you have to build on that. You have to discuss more on the problem statement, and you have to find out who has or who have said about emotional intelligence in psychology, and what have been done, and what is the missing point in this area that you need to do it. Do you understand me?
Yes.
Very good.
So
for everyone else, this is what I mean. You have to have a general focus. So it is okay for now if you do not know what your problem statement is. But when you first started writing out your title and the concept paper, there must be something. There must be a problem that you want to tackle. The problem is this. Not many people have done this, or there is a dearth in this area, or what is the problem? People don't understand. That is another problem. People are doing it wrong. That's it. That is a problem. Okay. So misinformation is another problem. Okay. So now when you go, when you have been assigned as supervisor, and I hope you have, then you can discuss further, but I want you to read more on how to develop a problem statement, because problem statement is very important. If you get your problem statement wrong, then the whole thing is wrong. Okay, because your problem statement says something and your research or the discussion is something else. So that's why we always need to know what it means by aligning problem statement to research objective and research questions. Okay, so problem statement, then you have research questions. Do we have the why is important? Why are you doing this and why is it important? So the significance of the study and definition of terms. What are the keywords? What are the words that needs explanation? If someone else from different area would want to read your thesis or your dissertation, they will look at the keywords and you have to explain that, right? So that is the definition of terms. If you have a conceptual framework, you can discuss it here. So this is a matter of choice. Okay, conceptual framework, theoretical framework. It normally we can find that these two in chapter 2. But if you want to have your conceptual framework written in chapter 1, you can also do so. But whatever that you do, you have to discuss with your supervisor. All right? Okay, so that is basically the outline. So the objective. Okay, what is the objective? This is a very important and pivotal section of everything else in the study and is centered around your objective. Okay, because we want to know at the end of your study whether you have achieved the objective that you have put at the outset. In chapter 1, you have your main purpose, then you have a specific objective. So at the end of the study, we want to know whether you have achieved all these objectives. If you have not achieved, then you have not completed your study. All right? Okay. So the objective of the proposed study should be stated very clearly in a very simple word, not complicated, and straightforward. Okay. So the objective stated should be specific, achievable, and measurable. Very important. Okay, I know some of new students, they are very ambitious. They want to do this. Even they want to change the world. Okay, you can change the world, but you have to do it step by step, right? You cannot change the world with one PhD thesis, right? But you are on your way to that purpose, right? Right. Too many objectives to be avoided. All right, I cannot say 2 or 3 or 1. No, I cannot say that because it all depends on your purpose. And then you are going to discuss with your supervisor. And for example, in qualitative inquiry, you can only have 2 main objectives. That is enough, right? And sometimes you can, when you read the qualitative inquiry, they have one big purpose. But then with that one big objective, there are, there are breakdowns of several more little objectives to actually serve the main objective. Okay, so too many should be avoided. Even just one clearly stated relevant objective for a study would be good enough. So this is what I'm talking about. If there is more than one objective, the objective can be presented in appropriate order of importance. So normally when we write a research objective, it has to start from a very generic objective or simple one, or an introductory to what you want to find out. All right. And then we go on to the more complicated, and finally, what is the main thing that you are going to do. But that also, when I'm saying this, don't say that, oh, Dr. Faiza says it has to start from, no. It all depends on your discussion with your supervisor, but it is best to start with a general objective, all right, a simple one, and then it goes, the difficulty goes on. If you have 3 or 4, in quantitative research, it's very common to have like 4 or 5 objectives, right? It's very common. Okay, next. Now, theoretical framework. I know when I say, when I mention theoretical framework to my PhD students, they all freaked out. Okay, this is reality. At the beginning of your study, PhD or master's. If someone says, what is the theory that you want to use? And the facial expression changes. You know why? Because and some people will say, I don't have any theoretical framework, or I'm not sure about a theory. Okay, so especially those who are doing PhD. Okay, PhD stands for what? You know PhD, but what does it stand for? Moderator, Alamgir, what does PhD stand for? Anybody? Do you know what PhD stands for? Okay, cannot answer me. All right. I need to know whether you know what PhD means. All right. So if you, let's say, you are doing PhD in Islamic studies, you are doing PhD in education, right? So there must be a philosophical foundation or theoretical underpinning. So if you're doing this, there must be a theory that underpins your discussion, underpins your title, underpins your study. Okay, so if you are worried about that now, don't worry so much, because you will read. You are doing postgraduate study, you have to read. If you don't read, if you are a person who doesn't read, then postgraduate study is not for you. I'm telling this in, this is reality. If you don't read, postgraduate study is not for you. You have to study. You have to read and read and read and read, even if you have finished your proposal, because of course, once you have read, then when you are writing, it is going to be a bit simpler, because you have got all the information there. Now, a theoretical framework is a broad and established set of rules, truths, or principles on which the study is founded, right? Example, this is just an example. Newton's laws of motion in physical science, or Maslow's hierarchy of needs in social science. So that what are those theory about, right? Thus, for instance, a physicist could use Newton's laws of motion, or one of the laws, to study the appearance of comets, for example, the speed of asteroids, or the gravitational pull of black hole, right? So you are, whatever that you do is underpinned by a theory. And of course, you can always discuss and argue whether that theory is still relevant or irrelevant, because you are doing the research now, okay? So we cannot just follow and put down and write the theory without understanding, okay? You can actually give a constructive feedback on the theory that you are going to use based on your study. Okay, similarly, a sociologist could use Maslow's hierarchy of needs to study the life cycle of social media platforms. Note that you can use multiple theoretical frameworks as needed for your study. Okay, so when you have this theory, you can then, at the end of your study, propose your own framework. For example, Sidra just now wanted to propose an Islamic psychology framework that is good, that is noble, that is something, that is what we want in a PhD or even a master's level. Okay, something new, right? Okay, moving on. Okay, so I'm not going to carry on with the theoretical framework. Okay, so just now was the chapter 1. Now we go on to chapter 2. Okay, so before I go on to chapter 2, do you have any questions for chapter 1?
Yes, doctor, I
Yes.
have a question. Thank you so much for your great presentation. You mentioned
May I know who's speaking, please?
I am Arafat Karim from Sri Lanka. I am going to pursue PhD degree in fiqh, inshallah.
Okay.
as you mentioned in your presentation, there should be not too many objectives.
Yeah, yeah.
But I heard and I noted that in IRKHS, they are expecting at least 4 objectives or 5 objectives, because according to objectives, there are divided chapterizations. Every objective should be focused on chapter 1. First chapter is according to first objective. Is there any system and regulations to especially for the IRKHS?
I think you have got it wrong, brother. You
Yes.
cannot go by objective by chapters by objectives, right? Because whether you're doing PhD or masters, you have 5 basically 5 chapters. Chapter 1 is your introduction. Chapter 2 is your literature review. Chapter 3 is your methodology. Chapter 4 is your discussion of findings or analysis, and chapter 5 is the conclusion. Unless you want to have 2 chapters on literature review, I think that it all depends on your supervision or your discussion with your supervisor. But I have not come across chapterization based on research objectives. But then you have sections. Yes, you have sections. For example, it is only natural for you to have 4 or 5 research objectives for PhD if you are doing quantitative research, right? Even for qualitative, there may be a number of students who are going to have 4 research objectives. Why? Because quantitative is tedious. It's not like using SPSS, then you have your result and then you are going to analyze those results, right? Qualitative is not like that. For example, if you have 4 research objective, and research objective 1 will be answered by semi-structured interview. Research question 2 will be answered by observation. Research question 3 will be analyzed by focus group interview. And research objective 4 will be analyzed by, for example, document analysis. And you know, one instrument there will take you months, right? So for me, if you are doing solely qualitative and you have all this, I am going to tell my students, are you crazy? How long? I will ask the students myself. I'm going to ask the students, how long do you want to do your PhD? 3 years or 10 years? I always tell my students like that. Okay, be realistic. You want to finish on time, 3.5 years or 4 years, even 3 years for those who are doing engineering in the sciences, right? But if your research questions, research objective are too ambitious, you can carry on, but it will take you more than 5, definitely more than 5 years. All right, because we have to have in-depth analysis on every question, on every research questions that we have we ask them. All right, unless you are doing, like I said just now, quantitative or mixed method, then you have you can have 4 or 5 or even more than that. Right. So again, I want you to be guided correctly. Okay, don't just because my friend said, because the person said. You have to have a discussion with your supervisor. All right. So I have, like I said, I have not come across chapterization based on your research questions. All right, brother. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right. Any other question? Any other question before we go on to literature review? No question? Now everybody is scared to ask me question. Just no. You please ask question. I speak like this. No, I speak like I am. I'm very serious. No, I am a teacher. I teach people. This is the way I speak. This is my voice. All right. I don't mean to be very fierce or what. So this is me. right? So don't be scared to ask questions. If I can answer your question, I will answer your questions, okay? All right, no questions? You sure? All right, very good. So let's go on to literature review. Okay, so what is literature review? Okay, so what is not a literature review? Okay, so have you heard of the word info dumping? Anybody? Have you heard of the word info dumping? No? Info dumping is, for example, you have the WhatsApp group, right? There will be 1 or 2 people who will get information from God knows where, and they get this and they forward it to you WhatsApp. Always there will be 1 or 2 people who like to forward things, even though sometimes the things that they forward is not related. Okay, so that is one way of info dumping. And literature review is not a place for info dumping, meaning you are not going to write everything under the sun. Okay, you are not going to write everything under the sun about your topic. Okay, so first of all, we need to know how to write a literature review. Okay, this is academic writing. We are not doing journalistic writing. Okay, students, many students, in fact, they write as if the way, they talk. I can actually hear the student's voice when they write. So that is not what we want in academic writing. So maybe we want to really focus on how to write in academic writing, how to write academically. All right. So literature review, okay, it can be classic. Okay. So people say that you have to have 5 years and the latest 5 years. Yes, you have to have the latest 5 years, not more than that. But we have classics, the theories. Not every day people come up with a theory, isn't it? So we still need those theories, even back in the 1960s, or even back in the I don't know, 40s, maybe 50s, 60s, 70s, because no new theory has been refined, no new theory has been brought forward. Then you are using this literature as classic, right? So then whatever that you have, your journals, or your books, if possible, I'm not saying it is a must, if possible, make sure they are 5 years and above. Meaning now is 2022, then most of your citation must be at least 5 years old. All right? Unless unless you have this is something that everyone must know about this writer. Okay, then you can use, because in your Viva, for example, your examiner will ask you, why are you using the 1980s theory? Why are you citing this person? Then you have the answer. This person is writing about this, and thus far nobody has written about it anymore. So this is important for you. All right. So it has to be relevant. It has to be current. And it has to be updated. All right. So literature review does not start at any point and does not end. Well, it will end. Okay, literature review, you start your literature review when you read. When you read, you want to write something, isn't it? So your literature review starts the day you start your postgraduate studies. Okay, and then you write the literature review until the day you submit your thesis or your dissertation, right? It means that your literature review will be refined, and will be added, will be, some, as you go along, you may find some literature that you have written at the beginning is not relevant anymore. So that's why we need to always check whether or whatever literature that we have written is still relevant to the topic, to the focus of your study. Okay, right. So a literature review is a text of a scholarly paper which includes the current knowledge, including substantive findings, as well as theoretical and methodological contribution to a particular topic. Right, so now, in literature review, okay, you are not going to go like, the analogy is like going to a supermarket. Oh, I like that one. I'm going to put here. Oh, I think I love that one. Okay, let me put it here. Oh, what about that? That is also good. I'll put it in my literature review. No, 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 no. That is not the way to put, just put and put and put. No, that is not literature review, right? So literature review is written like you are telling a story. Where does it begin? If you want to have like historically, then you can. But if you don't, then you can put it like what is important first, right? So your topic, your focus, what are the literature that is related or that are related to that your focus, and what is it that you want to highlight, right? What is the framework, theoretical framework that you want to write, and how this framework relates to your own research. A lot of students have written literature review like, I'm just reading a book. So what is the difference between a book and your literature? It's just words. Okay, so now what we want to know is literature review must have got a kind of structure. Okay, what comes first, what comes next, and what are the important information, what have been written in your area, what have been found, what are their findings. If you are looking at journals, what does the book say about your topic? So what is new? Because you know why? Because later on, when you are doing your analysis and you are writing your analysis, you are going to relate what you have written in the literature review to your own findings. You want to say whether the literature is actually supporting my findings, or it can be otherwise. Your literature does not actually support your finding. You can always justify why. So it is different why. Okay, so literature review has got to be, there must be a structure in writing your literature review. Okay, literature reviews are secondary sources and do not report new or original experimental work, most often associated with academic oriented literature. So these are the these are the journals and papers and whatnot that you have found in relation to what you want to do. All right. Such reviews are found in academic journals and are not to be confused with book reviews. That may also appear in same publication. Literature reviews are a basis of research in nearly every academic field. Even if you are writing for a short journal, you still have to review the literature. Who has done what? Who has written what? Okay.
No one care about it. No.
Do I have question? What is that? Okay, let's carry on. Yeah. So why write literature review? You write literature review because it provides what's happening there?
I'm gonna blow up. Hello, Akbar. Hello, Akbar.
I think you need to remove the
Oh,
Have you removed the person?
Yeah, I removed one.
yep. We're removing it. That's so sorry for this.
All right, okay.
We've also enabled the waiting room.
Yeah.
Somebody is, okay. I have to decline. Somebody wants to access my.
Ratio didn't ask.
Okay, right. Somebody is trying to access my PowerPoint, my screen, so I decline. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, you just declined, doctor. We are
Yeah, I
here to.
declined. So, but
Yeah.
Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar.
Okay. I think somebody has hacked the this page.
Yep.
Okay, let us just continue. Okay, why we write literature review is to provide background information of your topic and your focus, and then to establish the importance of your research and the title and to establish the importance of this area that you are doing. And of course, it will demonstrate your familiarity of the area. So your examiner is the person who is an expert in your area, right? So your examiner will know which literature is not there, important literature which is related to your study. So you have to be familiar with the literature, what has been written, what is important, what is the, all that. Okay. Now, to carve out a space for further research. Okay, so now when you write literature review and with your own study, you know that something has not been written. So that will actually carve out a space for you, meaning that you are going to suggest that in this area, not much has been written. So that can be something that you can write in your suggestion later on. Okay. General guidelines to writing a literature review. You will need to pick out the research most relevant to your topic you are studying. Okay, like I said, no info dumping. You think you think everything is important, and you start writing. So that is not the way. So no info dumping and literature review. Don't attempt to cover everything written on your topic. So that is info dumping. Yeah, you will use the studies in your literature review as evidence that your research question is an important one. So yeah, like I said just now, evidence here means you are going to support your findings when you write your chapter 4. Okay, so the findings support the literature supported your findings or does not support. It can be that way also. Okay, right. So how do we organize our literature review? You can do it chronological or chronologically. This is a common approach, especially for topics that have been talked about for a long time and have changed over their history. For example, somebody wanted to write about the education policy in Malaysia, for example. So you have to start from the beginning. What is the history of education policy in Malaysia? So, and then what are the changes that have taken place? So you are going to write your literature chronologically. All right. So that is one way. The other way is comparison to present hypothesis. If your literature review is a part of empirical article or meta-analysis, where you intend to present hypothesis and come to a conclusion, you can organize the literature review to show the articles that share or support your hypothesis and those that disagree with it. Right. There are also some people who write their literature review based on the research objective. So research objective 1 is mainly on this area. Research objective 2 is mainly based on this area, that area. So you can also write like that. So it doesn't matter as long as what you write makes sense. You are not it's relevant and current. Okay. Okay. Now, prominent authors. If a certain researcher started a field that there are several famous people who develop it more, a good approach can be grouping the famous authors. So you have to synthesize. All right. So you know how to write academically. Synthesizing is important in literature review. Okay. If you think you are not sure of synthesizing, please sign up for, courses or workshops on academic writing. I think many kuliahs have these courses for postgraduate studies on academic writing. So sign up for one of those, and you know how to write or how to synthesize when you write your literature review. Okay, process flow. If your literature review centers around part of a process, you may want to describe the stages in the process and group your citations by different stages or steps in the process. It all depends on what your research is all about. Okay. And now, okay, writing literature review, APA version 7. Okay, now we have the APA version 7. All right, and let me tell you, it is easier than version 6. Step 2, decide on the topic that you want to write for your literature. Of course, it is relating to your topic and focus. Identify the literature that you are going to review. Analyze literature, summarize the literature, writing the review. Okay, so now if you have heard of NVivo or Atlas TI, you can use this software to actually help you out in writing your literature review. All right. So there will be also courses, workshops for this. It will help you focus and map out your literature. Okay. So if you have the chance to sign up or to follow all this workshop, it will be very good for you, especially if you are starting new. Right? Okay. Now, this is the heart of your thesis or dissertation. You got this wrong, you have to redo, right? Heart. Just now I said important is the problem statement. So that problem statement will follow through with your methodology. Okay. So this is chapter 3. Chapter 3 is your methodology. So what is the design? So by now, you should already know what kind of design that you want to do. What is the design? Design a specific plan or protocol for conducting the study, which allows the investigator or researcher and you to translate the conceptual hypothesis into an operational one. All right. So we have study design. Okay, so basic differences between quantitative and qualitative research. So basically you have 3, okay? One is quantitative research, next is qualitative research, and the other one is mixed method. Mixed method is a mixture between quantitative and qualitative. So based on your research question, you will then know what design you want to do, not vice versa. You don't identify your methods before identifying RQs. That's wrong. That's upside down. Okay. You have to have your research questions designed and approved before you know what kind of research design you want to use. Right? So there will be maybe one of your research question is to know the to actually compare, okay? To compare or to compare concepts, or you want to have this you want to have count, you know, all these quantitative methods. You want to have it making you want to test theory, for example. Okay, so you have to understand your research questions before deciding on your design. Okay, so you have quantitative, qualitative, and and also mixed method. Okay, so once you have your design, okay, let's say you want to do qualitative, right? Or you want to do a mixed method. You have to actually write a bit why you have to justify. Why have you selected that design? Justify. Maybe you want to say that this is the correct design to answer your research questions. All right? Because if you get the wrong design to answer, then the findings will be flawed. okay, not correct, right? So, and then once you have got that, what is the approach? Okay, so maybe you want to have the phenomenon, case study, or you want to have phenomenology for qualitative, and then for quantitative, you have a lot more. All right, so I'm not going to concentrate on only qualitative here. So when you conduct qualitative study, we know once you have, let's say you have decided that you want to do quantitative and qualitative, I want to make sure, I want to encourage you to understand and read in depth. Find good methods books. We have a lot in our library. We have a lot in on the net. It's free sometimes. And of course, as PhD and master students, you have to have your own collection of books that you want to use later on in your life, right? So for this for methods chapter, decide what methods, what design you want to do. All right. So, and then once you have decided the design and the approach, then you want to actually come out with what will your how would you get your data, from which instrument? So we go to the instruments, right? So your instrument will be okay, whether it's a survey, your survey that you are going to ask people to answer, or whether it's experimental. You are okay, different Korea will have different methods, will have to have different designs. Okay, so I'm not quite sure about the sciences, but I can tell you a little bit on social sciences. Okay, once you have got your design, then you can have and of course you need to have research questions at hand, because with the research question, you are going to come out with your instrumentation. Okay, so what is your instrument? Whether it's a survey, whether it's interview questions, observation, whether it's documents that you want to analyze, up to you. Okay, so those are instruments, and you have to elaborate what they are and how do you develop. Let's say you are developing a questionnaire. How do you develop? Whether it's you have developed it on your own, or you have taken from somewhere and then do a bit of amendments, right? All that needs explanation. And then once you have that your instruments, then you have got to identify your setting. What is your setting? Where is your setting, right? Whether it's at the university, schools, or labs, or where is the setting? And then you have to have your population, your participants. Who are they? You have to describe. What are the sampling technique that you are going to use? Who are your samples and sampling technique? Purposive sampling, snowball sampling, whatever sampling. There are quite a number of sampling technique. And what are the procedure of data collection that needs to also be spelled out? You need to explain. And then what are the types of analysis that you are going to take? Okay, analysis, for example, you are going to, for those who are doing qualitative, maybe you want to do a thematic analysis, content analysis, conversational analysis, what have you. And maybe for the quantitative, you have your own analysis. Okay, so analysis, and then once you have decided on the analysis, then you go for quality assurance, validity, reliability. Then you have your trustworthiness, your confirmability, replicability. Okay, so all that will ensure quality of your data and quality of your instrument. Okay, so I'm going to go quickly. Okay. So this is qualitative sampling technique. You have to have, you can have intensity sampling, homogeneous sampling, criterion sampling, snowball, random, purposive, and so on. All right. So I'm not going to explain everything here because we don't have that much time. What I am touching here, just a tiny bit of the iceberg. All right. And then how many participants is enough? You are going to discuss that with your supervisor. And then what is your procedure of data collection? Whether you are going to observation or you want to do interviews, document analysis, focus group, or whether there are audio or text or visuals and so on and so forth. So those are your data collection instruments. Okay. Okay, and then you have your data processing. All this, you are a proposal for you to anticipate. All right. This is only proposal. You propose. All right. That while you are collecting your data, perhaps it will change over time. It will change. All right. And especially so from now until you collect your data, that is maybe a year or so, things change. Okay, maybe your proposal, or let's say you are doing a full research, you have defended your proposal. Even after you have defended your proposal, there may be slight changes to what you have proposed. So that is natural. Okay, don't worry about that. And of course, you have to have all of you. I would highly encourage you to have a Gantt chart or time frame for your study from now until the time you anticipate that you are going to graduate. Tell yourself, for those PhD students, tell yourself that you are going to only take 3 years. Inshallah. Okay, inshallah, you are going to take 3 years. So your timeline or time frame you have to do it for 3 years, unless you say, oh, I am going to take it this easy. I'm going to do it in 10 years. I don't think the university allows you to take 10 years to finish your PhD, or maybe masters by masters part-time. Probably you have more time. Okay, but then even you are doing masters full-time, you have to have your timeline. Give yourself 1.5 years. Well, is that possible? 1.5 years? I think it is possible. It is. Okay, it is possible because when some of my students have done it, you can also do it. Okay, and it is not impossible too to finish your PhD in 2.5 instead of 3. Okay, it depends on your how you work. You have to work hard to achieve this, but please do or create a timeline for your study. Okay, this is very helpful. Okay, what else? I think that's all. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Stop share. All right. Okay. Now it's for you to ask me questions. We have about 15 minutes for you to ask questions.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Faiza Idrus, for this great session. The session was very insightful and informative. I believe our participant will be highly benefited from this great session. So, dear brothers and sisters, I would like to open the floor for the Q&A session. What Doctor said, we have still 15 minutes for the Q&A session. You can just unmute yourself and ask directly to the doctor if you have anything to relate it to this, because today's topic is very relevant for our PhD or master's journey. So you can ask anything, whatever comes in your mind. Doctor, I got one thing, like,
yes.
First, can our participant get the slides?
Yes, of course. I'm going to, can I have, okay, I will email to Sister, I will email to the admin, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
Okay, that would be great. Okay, I got one questions. If you allow me, Okay, brother Osama I think he wants to ask something.
Yes, Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Walaikum salam.
Doctor, can you suggest or recommend to us some good sample for proposals or any books that talk more about this so that we can?
Oh, okay. You want a book on how to write a proposal?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any book right now with me how to write a proposal because I am writing one myself. But it's not ready yet. But then if you go on the web, inshallah you will get. Yeah. Okay, one book. The ones on the web, sometimes I disagree. I disagree with some of the content. So the best thing is if you have any friends who are now in, for example, data collection, almost finishing their thesis, ask them, because that is the best. I mean, they are the best person to tell you the kind of proposal your department wants, right? Because if you have a general proposal from the web or from a book, like I said, when I read some of the book for the some proposal, I just disagree with what they say. Okay, maybe the practices from one university is different to the other. So that is why. That's one reason. But then if let's say just an example, just now one brother said that your proposal must be written in chapterization by your research question. Of course, that is unacceptable, right? Okay, but then I think there are quite a number of good research proposal books if you can find it. If you want to go to book depository, just write research proposal for academic or research proposal for PhD, something like that. So then it will actually suggest to you book depository or Amazon, also okay. All right, brother. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Inshallah, maybe you have gone into data collection. Inshallah, my book on research proposal will be completed by mid-year. Inshallah, mid-year.
Our library should be a good source of for the reference, right? Our library.
Sorry, say again.
Our library, we can get.
Yes. Our library is huge and there are a lot of material. It's just you go and explore our library. And if you ask the librarian, they have online databases. Okay, online databases, they have ProQuest, they have so many. You can actually get materials free of charge from the online databases, which our library subscribes. Please explore. All right. Many students are very lazy to go to the library. This is sad. Okay. Especially postgraduate students, you have to spend some time in the library and look what the library has for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother. So we are really excited for the book, Doctor. I will be the one, inshallah, will buy.
Inshallah.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Doctor, we have one more question in the chat box. Sister Sharifa Jahra, she asks, morning, madam. May I know how many literature reviews needed for the proposal in the qualitative study, particularly?
How many pages you mean, Zahra?
How many literature reviews?
Yes, madam. How many pages?
How many pages? Okay, like I said just now, different modes of students will have to write different pages of proposal. Okay, let me just give example for PhD in education by research only. Okay, by research only, they need to write a proposal of 100 pages. 100 pages in Kuliah of Education. Don't ask me why. I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. So it's 100 pages for PhD by research, and the literature review is about 1/3. No. One quarter. Okay, let's say your introduction is about 5 or 6 pages. Your literature review will be about 20 pages. 20 pages times New Roman, 1.5 spacing. Okay, 0.12. 20 pages. Right? So it has to be comprehensive. Unless you are a coursework, then it will take you less than that. I cannot give you an exact answer. Okay, as long as you have covered most of the topics of your study, right? The current important ones. What are the theories? Then you are safe. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think Sister Jara got the answer. Yeah, there is on questions I received. He wants to ask, what are the steps should we follow to find relevant literature for our thesis? I mean, for the relevant thesis. Okay. Now, you can do it manually. Okay. You can do it manually, write, draw boxes, you know, and of course, what we need now is what are the current literature of the topic. Okay, which means you have to have journals that are related to your topic. Not one journal, not two journals, at least 10. 10 journals for PhD, eh? For PhD. At least 10 journals. You want to know what are the current information on the topic. All right. So, and then you go and browse through books. Okay, what are the books that are related to my topic, the current ones, right? So, and then if it's stated a whole list of books, you know that that topic must be important, must be relevant, because a lot of people have written about this topic, right? And of course, again, when there are a lot of things that have been written about this topic, you want to know whether what you are doing is new, something is not similar to what has been done before. Okay, so how to write it, like I say, if you know how to use Atlas TI or NVivo, it will help you actually structure your literature review. It only helps you to structure, but it does not help you to read. You need to read. You need to input information in the software, then the software can make connections. Okay, connections to one another, to one book to another book, because the input that you have put on Atlas TI or NVivo, then it will relate to what you want. All right. So there is no one way to structure your literature, but you can do it manually. Put one box. Okay, the name of the author, the name of the journal or the book. What are the findings? Okay, what are the important findings? Okay, you can go by chronology, or you can go by the most relevant. Okay, so that will take a lot of time too, but it's in a way it is actually molding you to be a good researcher in future, inshallah. Okay, so we have to start from scratch. You cannot be like a full-fledged researcher in 3 years. No. Okay, we are starting. So I started like that. I don't know much about research, but we started with our PG study, PG journey. So we started to write, oh, this is how you write, or this is not the way to write it. Okay, don't worry, there are a lot of humps and bumps and you will stumble, but you will have to wake up, get up if you stumble. Okay, don't give up. Don't ever give up. All right, don't ever. Okay.
Doctor, can you repeat the 2 apps you mentioned just now to help us with the literature? The
2 apps.
Yeah.
It's actually NVivo, but you can. NVivo is quite complicated for me. It's quite complicated, but for some people it's okay. NVivo. Okay, I type it in the chat box. En vivo. Okay. En vivo. Okay. Or you can go and there are workshops outside that you can follow Atlas TI, and some of your seniors are very good on Atlas TI, and you can ask them to make a workshop. You pay about 5 ringgit, you know, get 10 people, 20 people to fork out 5 ringgit, ask the person to teach you, yeah, Atlas TI or NVivo. It's better that way rather than spending 1,000 or 2,000 outside, and there will be hundreds of people. You don't have time. You don't even have chance to ask questions. All right. So learn from your seniors, or from even some of your lecturers are very they are very well versed on NVivo and Atlas TI. Okay.
Yeah, Doctor. Inshallah, I believe. Inshallah, from PGSS and CPS, we'll try to arrange one workshop for Atlas TI, inshallah. Yeah. Okay, Doctor, I got on a direct question from one of our participants. Good morning, Doctor. May I know how many references should we have for a good thesis for a master's level?
That is a question that I don't like to answer. Students always ask me. Then I said, there is no, I won't answer that. Because you know why I don't want to answer? Because in the reference, whatever that you cite in your thesis must be in the reference, all right? Whether it's in-text citation, you cite other people who cited that, everything must be in the reference. Sometimes when we read something, you have got the idea, but that you don't write it down. That can also be in the reference, because you are using that idea, but you are not citing that person, right? You use that idea, that must be also in your reference. So I cannot tell you how many, but what you can do is to look at samples of a thesis, sample of dissertation from your department, and have a look at how many. But of course, for masters, you cannot have like 10, 20. It must be more than that, because if you only have 10 to 20, it shows that you lack reading. You don't read a lot. All right. So what the best thing is to find samples of thesis and dissertation from your department, and look at how many, the pages, the length. But length, it will differ from one thesis to another. So you look at the reference section, you will see pages and pages and pages and pages, right? So there is no word count for that for now. Okay. So my answer is go and have a look at samples.
Yeah, Doctor. I think the last question, inshallah. So for you, I got another question from the direct message. So he wants to know, good morning, Doctor. Can you please let me know the difference between conceptual and theoretical framework?
Okay. I know that this question will crop. Somebody will ask this question. Okay. Now, to put it very simplistically, okay? Conceptual framework is the concept of your whole paper. The concept of the whole paper. What is the concept? It will include your methods, it will include your design, it will include your theory, the concept, at the beginning, that is the concept. If you have a diagram, then you can show this concept will relate to this, and this is what I want to find out, and in order for me to answer what research question. So those are concepts, okay? So theoretical framework in chapter 2 is the theory that underpins your work. It's specifically your theories that you are going to use in your research. That is your theoretical framework. Why we call it framework? Because it underpins the whole study. Okay, for example, Maslow theory of needs, and you want to write about the condition of living in Malaysia, for example. Maslow theory of needs underpins your study on the condition of living. Understand? Okay, yes. I hope that answers simplistically, but I need you to read more. Okay.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So if there is any question, any last question from our participants, maybe we would like to take from.
One last question, Doctor.
Yeah, that's
Can
very
we
good.
quote ourselves? Yes, we have written books, right, on a tier.
Okay, there are guidance or guidelines, I would say, how to quote yourself. Okay, because over quoting yourself is plagiarism. Okay, you can quote yourself, but there must be according to the guideline, right? Because some of us, we have written stuff before, right? We have written during, let's say you're doing PhD, you have written something during your master's and you want to quote that. So you are going to quote your work, right? Because thank you for highlighting this, because only recently I had a proposal defense from one university. I don't want to name that university. And that person is actually quoting himself a lot because he has written a journal and have done a research with some other people. And the person keeps on quoting several places, several items from that particular journal. Okay, so to me, that is uncalled for, because if you want to quote yourself, then why? Why do you want to quote yourself? Is it important there? Or if you want to show that this has been done before, then that's okay. Okay, but if you want to overquote, if you think that you want to increase your citation just because of that, no. Okay, so be wary of quoting oneself, but you can do it. No problem, you can do it. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, Doctor. Thank you.
All right.
So is there anyone wants to ask before we close this session? Is there anyone from the participants, if you want to ask anything, because these topics, because why we taking time, because as you know, this is the heart of your master's or PhD topic. I mean, especially this session. So if you want to ask anything before studying, pursuing your higher studies, it's our.
I'm so sorry that I am not able to talk on language and academic writing. Inshallah, one of these days, yeah.
Inshallah, Doctor, we expect you. We will get you again in our platform.
Inshallah, inshallah.
So, dear brothers and sisters, is there anyone wants to ask? Yeah, Doctor. I got another questions from the participants. So he asked, how do we develop the problem statement? Is there any particular steps for that one problem statement?
Okay. Now, of course, thank you for that question. It's a very important question, and it's a good question. How do we develop our problem statement? First of all, like I said just now, once you have got the focus and you want to know there is a problem in that area. Okay, so what you have to do is to look at different articles and journals that have been written in that area. So look at their problem statement. Okay, so that you don't, maybe you can have similar, but because your setting is different, you can look at those problem statement and then how you can develop it. Okay, first you have to identify one main problem. Okay, one main problem why this research must be done. The main problem that needs tackling, that needs answering. Then after that, once you have the main problem, you may have a little problem related to that problem. A smaller problem that is related to the main big problem. So that's how, and every now and again, you have to revisit your problem. Okay, and how do we revisit? Once you have read an article, a book, then you will see whether, okay, you have to reflect, my problem that I have written just now, is it relevant? Is it, this problem have been asked in the 1960s. Is it still a problem? So that is a problem. That is a problem. Is it a problem? So how you develop it is, one, you have to have one big problem, then you can have a smaller problem. At least you have to have at least 2 or 3 statements there. although it's a statement of a problem, but you have one big problem, then it's okay, right? But you have to develop, you have in the statement of problem, you have to cite who has done what and whether their problems have been solved, okay? Or is it still a problem? Okay.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for this great session. And it's really a wonderful session. It's an insightful session, especially for me. I think everybody will be benefited for this great session. And this video will be recorded, and it's already been recorded. And if you want to have a look on it later on, you just follow our YouTube pages, Postgraduate Student Society, PGSS, IUM. You will get this video over there too, inshallah. And those who wants to get the slides, Prof, inshallah, she will give us, and we will deliver to you, inshallah. So once again, Doctor, I would like to show my gratitude to you for this wonderful session and joining with us. And we believe you will get you soon in our next event, inshallah.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope you will forgive me in the shortcomings of my presentation just now. Hopefully, inshallah, we will see each other again. Thank you, PGSS, and also CPS for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor, and forgive us also for the shortcomings, and we had some issues, you know.
No
so
problem.
It's like technical things, and we are now more careful. So hopefully it will not repeat. Thank you very much, Doctor.
All right. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Inshallah, we will have a photography session after the next session, inshallah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay. Alhamdulillah, our next speaker is already with us. So without a further ado, let's continue the next session. The topic for this second session is Introduction to Embedding Maqasid Sharia in Postgraduate Research, Why and How, by Professor Datuk Dr. Usman Bakar. So before inviting Dr. Usman Bakar, I would like to share a brief bio of Dr. Dr. Usman Bakar is currently Al-Ghazali Chair of Islamic Thought at STAC, International Islamic University, Malaysia, and Emeritus Professor of Philosophy of Science at University Malaysia. Dr. Bakar is author and editor of 38 books and numerous articles on various aspects of Islamic thought and civilization, particularly Islamic science and philosophy, and interreligious and intercivilizational. His writings have been translated into many languages. He has served as advisor and consultant to a variety of international academic and professional organizations, including UNESCO, the Qatar Foundation, and the European Science Foundation. He was awarded Datukship by the Malaysian King in 2000. Alhamdulillah. We are really happy to have him with us today. So before start our session, I would like to have the same announcement for our dear participants. So we will have a Q&A session immediately after the sharing session of Dr. Professor Usman Bakar. So be prepared for that, and this session will be really interesting session also, and I'm really excited. I believe everyone are excited for the session. So now I would like to invite Professor Datuk Dr. Usman Bakar for his session from now and onwards. The session is your, Doctor.
Thank you, moderator, Brother Muhammad Alamgir Hussein. Thank you for the introduction. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wa mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you to CPS, Center for Postgraduate Studies, for inviting me to this event, and as the moderator mentioned just now, that our topic is introduction to the embedding of Maqasid Sharia in postgraduate research. I've prepared some slides to guide me in my presentation this morning. Inshallah, yeah, I think we should have questions and answer session. That is important So let me first make my presentation this morning. Now, basically, there are three questions. Three questions raised by the topic. All right. The question of what, the question of why, and the question of how. As for the question of what, of course, the question is, what is Maqasid Ash-Sharia? Before we can talk about the issue of embedment or embedding, we have to be sure. We should have to have some knowledge of what Maqasid Ash-Sharia is. Yeah, so the second question is, of course, why? Why the embedding of Maqasid Ash-Sharia in postgraduate research? Which means that basically we are asking the question, why the need? Why the need for postgraduate research students? Not only to know what Maqasid is, but also to know why you are going to, or you are preparing yourself for the very, very important task of of embedding Maqasid in your research. And the question, there is the question of how. All right, how do we go about in embedding this Maqasid in our actual research program, or even for some preparations for you, for the new postgraduate students? You know very well that now you are now on the road, in the path of prepare for choosing your at least tentative the topic of research. For some, maybe still do not know what topic of research to do. All right, which you know basically the area, but not more the topic. So there are for new postgraduate students that just entered the university, whether it is for masters or for PhD, you will be asking a lot of questions before you can come up with your your proposal, your research proposal. So these are the key questions, and let me now, okay, go to the first question. What is Maqasid Ash-Sharia? I don't know how many of you are familiar, but at least you have heard of the term. So I'm here that I want to spell out two definitions here. Definition of the Sharia and definition of Maqasid Ash-Sharia. Let's begin with definition of the Sharia, because it is very important. It is very important that you all know what we are talking about Sharia in the term Maqasid Ash-Sharia. There is a popular understanding of the word out there in our society. Some are right, some are wrong, some are just confused. And I'm talking to you postgraduate students. And let me emphasize, then in Islamic knowledge tradition, definitions are very, very important. So, so what is the Sharia? This is what I mean in my discussion, in my presentation. So I define here the Sharia is the concrete embodiment of the divine will, God's will, which is all embracing in the sense that it comprises not only universal moral principles, but also details of the way in which man, and what I mean by man here, a human being, should conduct every facet of his earthly life, private and social. So I would like you to reflect deeply on this on its definition. Therefore, we come across the Sharia as meaning Islamic law. But the problem with the word law is that if you take the very narrow meaning of law in the sense of the way the legal domain, legal thought is understood, then certainly that is not what we mean by the Sharia. Yeah, because Sharia here refers to the entire code of conduct, the guiding principles, right? So the concrete embodiment or the divine will comprises universal moral principle, but also the details. So it covers all the things in which Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has already prescribed for us, based, of course, on the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the rules and regulations pertaining to to prayer, to salat, to fasting, and to zakat, and so on, and then to the question of how we organize our society, our ummah, the community, all that constitutes they are part of the Sharia. So the word Sharia is a very, very comprehensive term because it's referring to Allah's will, what Allah has prescribed for the Muslims in particular, but also for the whole community. All right. So that's what is Sharia. Now, the question now, we have the word maqasid. Yeah. If we translate, of course, maqasid means the purposes, the plural, the purpose, the purposes of the Sharia. Basically, when you say the definition of maqasid al-Sharia is an answer to the question of why Allah reveals the Sharia to humankind. So the revealed law is in the Quran. That law is put into practice by the Prophet ﷺ. So that's the second source of the Sharia. And then, of course, the Sharia has grown, has expanded over the centuries. It becomes more complex, all right, more all-embracing, and so the fuqaha, more particularly the scholars of usul fiqh, try to understand why did we have the Sharia in the first place. So we need to reflect, because the answer to this question is not mean already closed. It is not. Yeah. That's why the subject of maqasid Sharia is alive. It's a living discipline, precisely because human society changes, and the Sharia is a very dynamic law. It's a very dynamic law. It is open to interpretation in order to deal with changing the changing society and the changes in society. So I put here maqasid al-Sharia, translated as higher purposes of the Sharia. My good friend, Professor Yasir Audah, one of the leading scholars in this field of maqasid, he published a book where, in a sense, he equated maqasid al-Sharia with the philosophy of Islamic law, the philosophy of the Sharia. We are talking about principles underlying the Sharia. All right. So basically, this is the basically the definition. Now let's go to the next slide. Now, to help students, all right, now to embed. So what is it that you all need to embed, and of course for the research supervisors, it is to guide, for them to guide the students. All right. Now we are of course the definition is not sufficient, but roughly based on the definition, we know we are talking about now But we need to go more details. If this Maqasid al-Sharia is to be of any practical use or practical relevance to students for their research. I divided the purposes of Sharia into two classes. One is primary purposes and the other is secondary purposes. What I mean by primary purposes, these are the purposes listed by the traditional scholars of Islam, beginning from Al-Ghazali, Imam Al-Ghazali, for example, and basically there's some kind of agreement, consensus regarding the in the past, all right, regarding the primary purposes, or you may call also the fundamental purposes, all right. Put here, for example, well, I mean, if you all look at the writings of Ibn Khaldun, talking about 500 years or so after Al-Ghazali, still talking about the same 5 fundamental purposes, although the ordering may not be the same for all scholars. But I present here in the order that was given by Al-Ghazali. First, the preservation of religion, right? Preservation of religion, referring to ad-din. So that's the most fundamental purpose, preservation of religion. So basically, when you ask, why did Allah reveal the Sharia? Well, religion is necessary for human being, and the Sharia is the essence of the religion, and therefore by having the Sharia, we in fact preserving religion. Now the second maqasid is preservation of intellect, reason, al-aqlu. I use the word intellect, reason, not just reason, not just intellect, but the two words, precisely because they are referring to different aspects of al-aql. Now, the third purpose is preservation of life. It refers to the preservation of nafs, the preservation of life, and the next one is preservation of property, and mal, and then preservation of progeny and nasl. So these are the 5, of course, but in our times, in modern times, these have been expanded, all right? So there are no limits actually to the number of purposes. But if we think critically, look at those purposes, then we will see that they are not of the same degree of fundamentality, of importance, of value, and therefore it is possible to classify this maqasid. That's I put the primary. Now, in the case of secondary purposes, I mentioned here only 5, but by no means they are limited to only 5. They are not. There are many. If you look at the works of Sheikh Qaradawi, for example, Sheikh Qaradawi, I mean, there are many that you can add. And so in our times, for example, the issue of human rights is very, very, very important, and it is accepted. The protection of human rights, all right, is regarded as legitimate. The maqasid from the Islamic point of view, except that here I use the word just to as far as and from the point of view of the teachings of Islam, we are not talking just about human rights, not only to protect human rights, but also to protect divine rights. You have both hukukul insan, that's human rights. And you have also the hukukullah, the divine, the rights of Allah, the rights of God. Basically, what the Quran means by fi sabilillah, fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah, that is defining already the divine rights. So in other words, let's say in the question of spending or the booties, the war, from the war spoils, the spoils of war. So there's a proportion also that is for God. So this is very important in Islamic thought, that we should not just be talking about human rights without talking also of divine rights. And the Sharia, this is certainly, if we understand the teachings of the Sharia, then quite clearly, this is, in other words, is concerned with both. The Sharia is concerned with both. Then in our times, of course, I mean, there has been a lot of environmental destruction, pollution, environmental crisis, right? So it is understandable that the scholars of the Sharia talk about environmental protection as another purpose. Now, the preservation of public health, which is a very, very important issue also, included, under the public health, people talk about mental health. So is our society able to preserve, to protect mental health? Well, quite clearly it's not, because one of the prevalent, the widespread diseases, the illnesses in our time is mental health. Mental health has become so severe in our time. And then the question of preservation of the wasatiyah way of life, the moderate way of life, the way of middleness, the way of the middle path. This is very important. It is legitimate. It is very necessary to emphasize this preservation of the wasatiyah way of life, especially when there are so many forms of extremism. And there are many forms of extremism. Now, the fifth example I give here is sustainability of the environment. The issue of whether the environment, at the rate its resources being used by people, whether the environment today can really sustain the needs of the future of humanity. Now, let me tell you the reason why I use it secondary, and you have also primary. Now, what I mean by secondary purposes are those that can be inferred, that can be derived from the 5 primary sources. So when I look at the secondary purposes, the examples that I've given, right? Now, I think critically I analyze this, then I can see that the secondary purposes are derivable, can be derived from the primary purposes. Let's say, for example, the protection of divine and human rights. Well, that is certainly it can be derived from the preservation of religion, right? Because religion has its content, right? And of course the secondary purpose can be derived from one or more of the primary purposes. Now, let's say preservation of mental health. That is derived from the preservation of intellect reason. The word al-aql, the entity called aql, yeah, that covers what we refer to as mental phenomena. The mental phenomena not to be equated with the faculty of intellect reason. Faculty of intellect reason is wider, is broader. It covers the mental phenomena. No, so, we can talk a little about that. And then the example, the question of the sustainability or environmental protection and sustainability of the environment. That is derivable from the fifth primary purpose, which is preservation of progeny. In other words, how can we preserve our progeny into the future? Then until the future, they survive until the future, unless we provide an environment that can meet their needs in the future. In other words, sustainability of the environment. So, but this itself, yeah, how we arrive at the purposes at democracy, how we classify democracy, how we set the kind of hierarchy or something like that. All right, that requires critical thinking, requires the methods of both analysis and synthesis, something to do what we call part of the Maqasid methodology. Yeah? So one aspect of the issue of Maqasid methodology is precisely how to arrive at new purposes in the light of changes in the modern society. All right, and then I go to the second question. So I hope the students, research students, understand by now what the issue is all about. What is that Maqasid al-Sharia that is to be embedded? It is only in a broad outline. You have to go into details, but I would advise students try to refer to the literature on the subject, right? Read more about that, and this is very, very important for you to understand that topic. So, the question: why the need for embedment of Maqasid al-Sharia in progressive system? The most important of all here is the relevance of Maqasid al-Sharia to all fields of knowledge. I repeat, the relevance of Maqasid al-Sharia to all fields of knowledge. Meaning that no matter what your educational background, no matter what area of specialization that you want to pursue, and no matter what research project that you want to do, that can be linked, that can be related to Maqasid al-Sharia. All right, whether the link is short, the link is intermediate, the link is long, that depends on your topic of research. All right, so and this is one thing, it is the important thing, relevance of Maqasid al-Sharia to all fields of knowledge. There are two ways, there are two approaches. There are two approaches basically that you can take. If you already know quite a bit about Maqasid al-Sharia, you should be able to approach your research a kind of top-down approach. So from the Maqasid al-Sharia that you know, right? And where do you want it to lead you to? for research. Yes, it is reflecting on the knowledge, the particular knowledge of maqasid that you have, right? That opens up your mind. That opens up your mind to the kind of choices, the choices that you can have for your research. Or you can start the other way around. If you feel like no nothing, but you know what you want to do. All right. Let's say in political science, you want to do in political science, but you know next to nothing about the subject of maqasid Sharia. So how can you may ask? How can I relate my political science to maqasid Sharia? Yes, I'm saying that because of the relevance of maqasid Sharia to office of knowledge, you can do that. Yeah, but you need to think about it. All right. So the subject of embedding maqasid Sharia is very nice. It's very good because it leads you to think seriously about that. Yeah. Now, the second reason why the need for embedment is related to the first point. I'm saying here, maqasid are a rich source of conceptual framework for research students. So basically, what I'm saying now, second, third, and fourth on this why embedment is these are just points clarifying further the first point I mentioned, the relevance of maqasid. I'm now basically giving examples of the relevance of this maqasid Sharia to your fields of study. All right. So maqasid are a rich source of conceptual framework for research students. In order for you to come up with a research proposal, all right, if you are doing PhD, you are required to come up with some kind of conceptual framework as a kind of theoretical context for your study. So what I'm saying is, your knowledge of maqasid will prove to be helpful because it's a rich source. Now, and then the third, the second illustration of the relevance of maqasid of the embedment of the maqasid Sharia, maqasid and concept derived from them. Right? You have those examples of maqasid just now. All right. Now I'm saying concept derived from them. Just reflect on those available maqasid. What kind of concepts? What kind of concepts that you can derive from that? Think carefully about that. And then the issues which they raise. If you ponder deeply those maqasid, you can see many issues are being raised, and there are many and diverse applications. Right? You can apply those principles, right? So all these provide an abundant supply of research topics, hypotheses, and even theories. So you see now why embedding maqasid Sharia is because it's going to help. Is going to help research students intellectually. It's a very, very big intellectual help to students. And then the next illustration of this why the embedment, yeah, thinking about maqasid methodology and applications can help research students to write their research proposals. This is the immediate gain of our students. But of course, the usefulness of thinking about Maqasid methodology, application is much broader. But the context of our discussion today is, of course, your research, your research. So let's say, for example, go back to the primary purposes, primary Maqasid. One way of reflecting on that, I mean, is the one that I mentioned to you. You analyze each of those purposes, comes up with a lot of inferences, the secondary ideas, more detailed ideas from each of them. That's one. But you can also, it's kind of integrate, right? You integrate all those five purposes, five primary purposes, and ask a question: what is the purpose? You have primary purpose, but now you're asking about what are the purposes of these purposes. Then you are opening up a much broader question. That's why, let's say, if you look at those purposes, justice is not was not mentioned just now. Philosophically, as I understand, of course, I mean, yes, it is justice is not mentioned in those five, but justice is very important in Islamic teaching. I would argue that justice is a purpose. It's one of the purposes of the purposes, in the sense that if we adopt those primary purposes, religion, we establish religion, we really protect and in a sense we really lift to it the concept of intelligence, the concept of intellect, reason, right? We understand that concept, we apply that in our life, we pursue that in our life, yeah. So and then we really preserve life, we look at all issues of life from the perspective of the religion, and then the question of property, and question of progeny. Then all that are meant to ensure justice. Yeah? If we apply all those purposes in society, then justice will prevail. So justice is in a sense of a consequence, yeah, is the larger consequence of that. Same thing, happiness. Yeah, many Muslim thinkers in the past talk about the attainment of happiness. Happiness is a high in sense is the purpose of the primary purposes. Yeah, all that. In other words, we ensure that all those purposes are fulfilled, right? Then, of course, that will there'll be happiness. Individuals have happiness. Society has happiness. So this is something other than just about Maqasid methodology as meaning how to arrive, what are the methods, how to arrive at this Maqasid. Right? Then the last one here I have, knowledge of Maqasid can help research students to better appreciate the significance of their study and research. When you do your research, when you write your thesis, all right. But even before you write your thesis, yeah, you have to defend your proposal, your research proposal. So one section of the proposal requires you to identify, right, to mention what is the significance of your study. Now, significance of study and research, right, can be discussed from at various levels, no? So when you say significance, there's not just one level of significance. There are many different levels of significance. Right? The immediate level and the more distant level. Of course, according to in academic practice, not only among Muslims, but this is generally speaking, it doesn't matter. When you talk about significance, the first level of significance of our research, what is meant is significance to that field of study. That's significant. Let's say, for example, we come up with yes, and that is significant. You already have to point out in your proposal, but certainly in your final thesis that you submit, that you're going to submit, you have to spell out in more detail. But I find many students really do not know what what's meant by the significance of the study. I would advise that the students, all right, to think of this significance of the study at different levels. First, as I said, at the level of the field, your own field of study. In what way, for example, your research is going to be, or your study, your research is going to deal with problems that have not yet been treated by other people previously. So your significance, your research is significant because it helps to, in a sense, to enrich knowledge about your subject. You contribute something to your field of study. That should be the first significance that should be pointed out. Not yet the significance of Maqasid Asyariah, the relevance. So in university, Islamic university, you come to know. In other words, there are many things that you must show that your research is significant, is relevant, because, for example, the question of Islamization of knowledge or integration of knowledge. So that is one of the things that, all right, in what way your study is significant? It's going to be of significance to that policy of the university. But in between that, in between the immediate significance to your subject, to your and to the university, the society at large, the Ummah, the nation, there are different levels of significance in between. So I think and by knowing Maqasid Asyariah, which manifests itself at different levels. In other words, the subject of Maqasid Asyariah, the relevance can be discerned, can be known at different levels, and that is the beauty. That is the beauty of the embedding. Why embedding Maqasid Asyariah? You will come to see the relevance of your study of any subject, right, at different levels. You may not see it right now. You're starting, but you'll come to see that, inshallah. All right, and then the question of how to embed, basically how to embed Maqasid Asyariah in your postgraduate research. I listed some of them here. Of course, as you can see now, I emphasize again, students must know the 5 primary maqasid, as well as the existing secondary maqasid, which are increasing. All right. So keep track. Students, please keep track, right, of the new additional maqasid. So basically, this is very, very basic. You must know at least the 5 primary maqasid, if not all the secondary and secondary ones. Now, the second point here to the question of how, for those interested in the study of the derivation of the maqasid in themselves, familiarity with maqasid methodology is recommended. This a point of emphasis, right? I don't know how many of you are interested in that, but of course that requires deeper study, greater concentration on the subject. But if in the future you are interested to derive, right, maqasid and the maqasid themselves, right, then what I'm saying is your familiarity with the maqasid methodology is recommended, and I recommend it, in fact, the book of Dr. Yasir Auda. You can learn many things from that book regarding maqasid methodology. I'm sure there may be some of you want to write a PhD on the issue of coming up with some new maqasid, right? What you think, especially in the category of the secondary, secondary maqasid. You can go into detail. You can come up with a number of more detailed maqasid. I think, in fact, I would encourage those of you, right, who want to do research on this in different fields, in economics, in education, in politics, in sociology, and even in the question of the religious sciences. Right? Yeah. Now, the next one, students need to identify which of the maqasid is most connected to their main area of study and field of specialization. This is one option that is open for students. It's more modest. It's more modest, but yeah, it's easier. So it's basically, if you want, well, certainly we would like you, yeah, the students to do this. You have your field, start from your field of specialization. You read the maqasid, about the maqasid. The maqasid are many, all right, but for a thesis, for the majority of you, I don't think it would be possible to study all the maqasid, all right. But you have done your job, in a sense. You have done your job if you are able to connect, all right, to connect issues in your field of specialization to even one of the maqasid, right? And the nature of the maqasid is such that you can make that connection, right? But the question of how here, I mean, I said, you just go for one of the maqasid at any level, whether it's primary or secondary level, and then see as conceptually how that connection can be made. Yeah. So think about the conceptual connection between one of the maqasid and your own field of specialization. Now, the next one is students need to deeply understand the epistemological connection between the identified maqasid and their respective areas of research. Yes, in a sense, as a conceptual relationship, but to be more precise, here is epistemological connection. What we mean by here the epistemological is the knowledge connection, between the identified maqasid and your own area of research. Epistemology, as you know, means the theory of knowledge, right? So the epistemological connection can be, in terms of relation to ontology, in terms of the categories of the objects of your study, or it can be methodological. You are looking more a question of in terms of methods, in terms of methodology. How can you relate? How can you relate that identified maqasid and your area of research? Now, the last one here, students are encouraged to go through the current literature on maqasid studies. I mentioned here, you can see, I think the most active website on the subject, the website of Maqasid Institute, with which Professor Yasir Auda is associated in London. Recently, when Dr. Yasir Auda launched his book, all right. So I'd like you to suggest some reading here. Please refer to the many writings of Muhammad Hashim Kamali. I mean, he wrote many works on the subject of maqasid. All right. Here I cite here one work in 2020, Actualization of the Higher Purposes of Sharia. Yeah. I'll give you the link there. Then he wrote also very introductory kind, especially it's good for students. I think I would advise students to read his Maqasid al-Sharia, published sometime. Maqasid al-Sharia made simple. That should be attractive to you all. Then I also refer to one of my essays, the place and role of Maqasid al-Sharia in the Ummah's 21st century civilizational renewal. The Maqasid al-Sharia is very relevant to the issues of civilization. And then the book of Auda, Re-Envisioning Islamic Scholarship, the subtitle Maqasid Methodology as a New Approach. All right. This some examples of readings that you can try to get. So that's it. My presentation. And as brother moderator said, that question and answer, I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Professor Datuk Usman Bakar, for this great session. The session was really insightful and informative. I believe our participant will be highly benefited from this great session. So Maqasid al-Sharia is such a thing which is really related to our life actually. So we need to know details about this. So this session will be helpful for us. So now I would like to open the floor for the Q&A session for our amazing audiences. So please, dear brothers and sisters, if you have any questions related to Maqasid Sharia or your PhD related things or master's related things, please unmute yourself and ask directly to our honorable doctor.
Assalamu alaikum.
Please introduce yourself and the first question.
Yes, I am Arfat Karim from Sri Lanka. I am here doing PhD in fiqh. Thank you so much, Professor, for your great presentation. Alhamdulillah, we learned so much thing related to Maqasid Sharia. Would you mind explaining a little bit more how to relate Maqasid methodology to the thesis related to minority issues, minority context? So because we are living in here as a minority society facing so many problems, we need to include those problems in academic writings. How to relate Maqasid approach to the academic writing in relating with the minority issues. Professor, thanks.
All right. No, I focus on the basically, although you try to touch a few things, but I go for your first remarks. Your first that's regarding methodology, how to relate in terms of Maqasid methodology to your thesis writing. Now, the one section in the research proposal and your research structure is methodology. So I know nowadays when I look at how what students write under the section of methodology, it's a kind of, just reproducing one kind of narrative, just a narrative maybe get from some books, or learn from some classes, but if we look at the issue of methodology on a bigger scale, larger scale, especially as understood in Islamic knowledge, in knowledge culture, right? Let's say we say if you are studying about text written by some scholars, you want to study. So what sort of methodology will you come up with? Now, in Islamic scholarship, the books written by that scholar whom you are studying, that is considered as primary source. Now, the concept of primary sources is related to what we have in Islamic thought in general. It's always said that when we study about something about Islam, what is our most important source? Our most important source is the Quran. The Quran is the first and most important source. Then what? Then the hadith, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Then the works written by prominent scholars on the subject. So not just work written by any Tom and Harry. It is work based on authority. All this, when we say all this detail, when all this sequence, the Quran, the Sunnah, then the works of prominent scholars, what is implied here? We go for authority, the authority of knowledge. So that therefore also influences how students should know what kind of methodology in terms of sources, what sources to use, not sources from Google, respectable sources. That's how you apply. Right? We apply from the in principles of methodology, and that's what the Maqasid Sharia methodology is. Right? If you refer to the book, Dr. Yasir Ada's book, yeah, you are precisely that you go to the Quran, all right, you go to the Quran, you go to as the first source, the most important source, and try to get the ideas from there, even ideas about Maqasid Sharia. So the question then, how to discourse and how to proceed how to collect data. Even the concept of data. What do you mean the concept of data? What are data? From the perspective of Islamic intellectual tradition, when we use sources, when we use ideas from the Quran, we refer to that as revealed data. Revealed data. In other words, data contained in the Quran, it comes from God. Right? So revealed data. So we also, we don't just use data that we get by going on a field work or something. We carry out, we conduct research by having surveys, interviews. Yes, that is one source of data. But that cannot be equated with the data we obtain from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from the all the authoritative scholars of Islam. So therefore, we have to Maqsid al-Sharia, certainly, when you want to deduce new maqasid, then you have to apply that hierarchy of data. And then the one question of the methods as well, synthesis. And in other words, what should we do with data? We interpret those data. So what sort of thinking operation that we perform on this data? In Islam, scholarship, it's not just analysis. Analysis is only one. But for most students, it's only analysis. There's only word, isn't it? Analysis, analysis, analysis. Yes, analysis is important. And in fact, Islamic logic system emphasizes that. But we forgot integration. We forgot synthesis. Yeah. They are also very, very valid. And some kind of, I'm not saying that all kinds of issues, the degree of importance, or that depends. Yeah. But synthesis and integration are important. And one of the things emphasized in Islamic University, IIUN, is integration of knowledge. Right? So how do you apply that in your own study? What's your methodology? Yeah? So I want to see, for example, both synthesis and in analysis. Some data you analyze, but another set of data you integrate. Right? So you look both at the smaller picture and the bigger picture. In order to look at the bigger picture, you need to integrate and synthesize. You want to go more detailed, you analyze. You are intelligent enough to see, as far as your chosen topic, which one is going to be used more. Is it synthesis, analysis? But this is something that I think this methodology provides hints, provides insights on what we can do. Yeah. So that's my my response to that. Yeah. The practical relevance of Maqasid al-Sharia to your how to approach the issue of methodology in your research project.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the answer. So please, dear brothers and sisters, you can ask question directly to our professor. So if you have any question, just unmute yourself and ask directly. We are encourage you to ask questions because it will be an interactive session. Dear brothers and sisters. Okay, Doctor, I have one question. I got it. So one of our students, he wants to know, I am doing my research on economics. How do I embed Maqasid and Sharia in my research?
All right. You are from the questioner is from economics, all right? Yes. Well, I mentioned one of the maqasid which I mentioned in my presentation in the slides was the preservation of the wasatiyah way of life, the middle path, the moderate path. That maqasid is very relevant to economics from the Islamic perspective, of course. You know that one of the terms for economics in Islamic thought is iqtisad. Iqtisad, but iqtisad is very interesting. It's very interesting why in the history of Islamic thought or in the history of Islamic economic, the word for economy, one of the terms for economy is iqtisad, which means the mean, which means the golden means, the middle path. It is precisely because the spirit of economic life in Islam is that wasatiyah spirit, the moderation, to live moderately, to be moderate in consumption, for example. So the significance from the issue of terminology, right, to question of the system, the economic way of life, right? So the homo economicus from the Islamic perspective, the economic being, the economic man, is precisely is moderation. Now that sinks, that in a sense trickles down to all levels of ideas about economics, right? Or let's say now the issue question of the relationship between economy and the environment. Yeah. We know very well that economic activities, modern economic activities are demanding, making great demands on the environment in terms of natural resources. Of course, the people who monopolize these resources are just a few people in the world. It's not, the majority of people are just merely consumers, but the producers, the way they use the natural resources for a different kind of economic philosophy, economic theory, for example, but that cause great damage to the environment. So when I talk about the relationship between environment and economics, all right, then the issue of maqasid asyariah comes in. So you can look back, you can look back at the other maqasid and see in what way they are connected. It's more than one of those maqasid are relevant to economy, not just one, several. So I just mentioned the environment, the question of the moderate way of economic life, both in terms of especially in terms of consumption. Okay, I think my short answer to that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor, for answering these questions. So I would like to request our participants, if you have any questions, just floor is yours, because it's our Q&A session. You can participate with us if you want to know anything related to this Maqasid al-Sharia or anything related to your PG studies. Just unmute yourself and ask. Okay, by this time, so I have one more questions from the participants. So you mentioned in your studies, I mean in your slides, few types of maqasids. So which of the maqasid is related to my topics? How do I know? Or is there any steps to finding that one?
Well, how to, yeah, if you are, in a sense, you start from scratch, starting from scratch, you want to know, but assuming that you already know, if you already know the topic, all right, then I can answer your question, I can relate, okay? But if you don't know what topic yet, then that is difficult. So in that case, if you don't know yet what topic you want to do, all right, just still looking for one. Hopefully, one will come along the way soon, inshallah. All right.
Dr. He informed the topic. It's risk management.
Risk management.
Yeah.
All right. Risk management. Okay. Now, that's very, very interesting subject, but still it's under what is more, it's not the risk, but this management. All right. The word management there is more important than the word risk there. Yes, the one of the you can look at, for example, at the let's go first to the primary maqasid. What is related to management, all right, in preservation? Well, if you go into detail, preservation of religion, how do we preserve religion? Religion is a system. Religion is not something ad hoc. It's something. It's order. Yeah? It's based on order. Now, order is the basis of studying risk. It's not that, no. You for a meaningful study of the issue of risk, R-I-S-K, it has to be based on the idea of order. Order. And something that is order and orderly. Something that is based on something that is normal. Something is based on law, based on rules and regulation. But there are phenomena which do not conform, to this, and you call it risk, or in economics, also in business, risk management, to take the risk. Well, I mean, it was also a question of how to preserve the aql, the intellect. The intellect reason. The intellect reason is the thinking instrument, the instrument that you use in order to study things. All right, and then the intellect reason is such that it's not only able to study things that are orderly, all right, things that are predictable. But also things that require this kind of probability studies based on statistics. Yes, in order to be able to do that, there is a part of religion. Part of religious teaching which deal with that kind of subject, right? So religion is not only need; it's also about the uncertain thing that to deal. The Sharia provides the way, also provide guidelines on how we deal with situations in which we are not certain about the end result about the product. So you meet that in economy, you meet that, you meet that in the question of public health. You meet that in the issue of sustainability. Yeah. But I agree. I mean, with your kind of subject precisely, because I you remember I mentioned, all right, to what extent how we can relate, that can take a longer distance if your if you do a kind of subject that kind of subject on risk, on risk management. But the point is, in dealing with risk, you have something also to have something that you are certain of. You cannot just study risk like that. You must base that study on something which is definite, which is already established. You move from what is clearly established to that thing which you call the risk. You are studying that phenomena, whether it is in economics, whether it is in education, investment, and so on. Okay, so my point is, your distance to the Maqasid Sharia is less clear. It's less clear in this case, but if you think deeply, no, you connect that, but then you will not be able to do that unless you start reading more about the Maqasid, start knowing more about that. Without that, you won't be able to to see what is the significance of your research.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. So, dear brothers and sisters, if you have any questions, maybe we can take on more maximum. So, if you have any, maybe we can take your questions before closing the, jump into our photography session. So, if you have any, just unmute yourself and ask directly to our honorable professor. Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, once again for the great session. The session was really informative, insightful. So I believe everybody will be benefited, inshallah, from this great session. And we're really grateful to you. You join us today.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. I wish success to all the students. That start thinking from now, reflecting on the subject. And this is not supposed to be settled in one session, not supposed to be settled in one program. This should be made your ongoing. This should be an ongoing program. It requires a lot of thinking, reflection on your part. But I can assure you, it's going to be rewarding for you, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. I would like to request all our participants. We already shared the iAttendance link. Please fill that one by log in on your iMalum account. So, okay, before we end this morning session, let's have a photography session. I invite everyone to open your camera. Now I will pass this session to our honorable advisor, Sister Faria.
Assalamualaikum everyone. Kindly switch on your camera. I'll take a snapshot. Okay, do we have more? Okay. I'll take a snapshot now. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Another one. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much, Sister Faria, for taking our pictures. Dear brothers and sisters, before we proceed with the afternoon session, we will be having a short lunch and prayer break until 2:50 p.m. in Malaysian Standard Time. Our next session will resume on sharp 3 p.m. We will allow participants to join in from 2:30 p.m. For joining the session, you need to use the same Zoom link. Please be on time, enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you again sharp at 3 p.m. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let us end this session, morning session. Tasbih Kifara and Suratul Al-Asr.